You wanted me to reconcile myself to. I was born here almost 60 years ago. I'm not going to live another 60 years. You always told me it takes time. It's taken my father's time, my mother's time, my uncle's time, my brother's and my sister's time, my nieces and my nephew's time. How much time do you want for your progress?
Peace, peace, peace. I am Dr. Philip Roundtree, and you are tuned into the February 3rd edition of Rhetorically Speaking on the brand new Black Media Nexus Network, which is a space for fostering critical conversations specifically by progressive Black content creators. So make sure you subscribe across all the socials at Black Media Nexus, on YouTube at Black Media Nexus, on the Twitch at Black Media Nexus, and we also got a little Patreon popping off. We getting some specific content for patronies. I guess that's the name that people use, so we gonna use it too for patronies. So head on over to patreon.com/Black Media Nexus. So listen, I'm excited to be back. This is the first Rhetorically Speaking episode since the first solo one in a little bit. You know, we did the presidential candidate breakdown. We did the reactions to 45/47 winning the presidential race a few months ago with the homegirl POC. So now here we are back. I'm not gonna say better than ever because shit is crazy out here in these streets, out here in these Philly streets specifically. But we gonna get into all that. But first, we're going to have a conversation about the new tariffs that your man 45/47 has implemented and will be beginning tomorrow, February 4th, 2025. We're going to talk about how that's going to be impacting your wallet. We're also going to break down the latest ICE raids that's been happening across the country, but specifically here in Philly. And last but certainly not least, we're bringing to you this new segment called Dr. Phil's Black Thought of the Day. Because you know I'm always thinking, I'm always pontificating on something. Today, I'm going to be having a conversation about how white validation keeps holding Black folk back, especially in light of the Grammys that took place last night. So, first, let's get it started. Oh, 45/47. I don't know if I necessarily have processed what that's going to look like for the next 4 years. Some of you would be like, "Well, Phil, you weren't for either Republicans or Democrats. You voted third party." Yes, I did. That that doesn't mean that I wanted old boy to be back in office. What it meant was, and what it continues to mean, is that I have this dream. I have this dream. Rest in peace, Dr. King, whom we celebrated a few weeks ago. I had this dream about what this country could look like with healthier leadership. Leadership that I don't think Republicans, neither Republicans nor Democrat, could truly offer in a way that that keeps humanity at the forefront. I'll leave it at that. So back to these tariffs. Trump, oh Lord, I said the name. Hopefully, I don't know if that's like saying Candyman or what, but 45/47 has imposed a 25% tariff on goods from Canada and Mexico and 10% on Chinese imports. And so you may be asking yourself, like I was, well, what does this mean? What it means is higher prices on things like cars, electronics, food, etc., etc. Economists warn that these tariffs will hit American consumers the hardest, raising costs across the board. So, for me, in order to understand what tariffs meant and how it directly impacts me, I went to a space that I probably shouldn't be going to. I went to artificial intelligence. And why do you say and why do I say that maybe I shouldn't be going to artificial intelligence? Because we recognize that it's detrimental to things like climate change, outside of the detriment to just our ability to think intellectually and to accumulate knowledge and practice wisdom. We know that artificial intelligence is perfect for an anti-intellectual society, a place where we find ourselves. With that said, I Googled, please explain this to me like I'm a kid. And they explained it to me like a kid. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt to explain it in a way for you all to understand how these tariffs on imports will impact us all. So let's say that we're importing hot dogs. That's the first thing that came to my mind. So we're looking at Canada to import our hot dogs from, right? And so you have a business saying, okay, we're going to get our hot dogs from Canada at $5 a case. Like, you, Canada, what's up, fam? Okay, $5? Bet. All right. Here's the $5 to this business in Canada. You get it. Now, this is where the 25% tariff comes in. 25% of $5 is what? $1.25. So now this business is paying this business in Canada $5 for the hot dogs. But now they're paying the American government $1.25 for getting it from Canada. So instead of paying $5 in total, this business is now paying $6.25. Right? Now think about this from a larger landscape where we're talking about millions and billions of dollars in imports that are coming from these various countries. They're paying 25% to the government. Now you may be looking at it, okay, how does this impact me? This business is paying the 625 instead of the 5. Well, what'll happen is if they're paying the 5, and we know that inflation has already been a thing, let's look at something like eggs, right? We're going to switch from hot dogs to eggs. So if they're paying $5 for the eggs, and they're hitting us for the eggs for $7.50, that means they made what, a $2.50 profit. Now because it's 625, they're going to boost the price even more. So now it's just like, okay, we don't want to have this $1.25 profit. Let's boost it to $9. Let's boost it to $10 because we have to make something, because we have to give up the government a piece of what it is that we're buying, because we're getting it from this specific location. Now, in turn, Canada, Mexico, and Canada already said that they're going to do the same thing. They're saying, because what will happen? Folks will be like, okay, you know what? I'm not messing with Canada. I can't mess with Canada because it's costing me too much of my bottom line. And so now Canada, they're taking the hit financially. And so now wherever they're going to be importing goods from, let's say it's America, let's say it's other places, now they have to charge a tariff, an increased tariff. And so they're saying, well, listen, America, we can't just let you do this because now we have an economy to sustain. So anybody who wants something, anything that we're getting from here, for our people, we're going to have to do the same thing. And so they're going to now have to charge Canadians more for products. I hope that little breakdown made sense. Now, what's the purpose of all this? Well, we recognize that 45 and 47, 45/47 is office now. And so what do folk like to do who may be lacking in certain areas? They want to show that they're powerful. They want to put their you know what I'm saying, right on the table. Because this is what he's done. This is what the Republican Party has done. They've said, listen, yeah, we see what the Democrats are and who they are. They've made America weak. This is the whole ideology behind Make America Great Again. It's to say, yo, we got the biggest, you know what I'm saying, across the country. And think about how patriarchy influences the analogies that we use. We have to go to the male anatomy in order to do it. Again, I'm not above it either, right? This is how it all influences. But it's to say, hey, this is about power. This is to show that we're in control. What's been pushed for centuries? America is the greatest place in the world. And so this is an opportunity to flex. Unfortunately, this flex is going to hit whom the hardest. It's not going to hit Target, who y'all really y'all say y'all boycott, and it ain't going to hit the billionaires. It's going to hit the people working in Target. It's going to hit the people who are purchasing from places like Target, Walmart. I would say the mom and pop store, but I don't think they exist anymore because of conglomerates like Target and Walmart. And that's the reason why, if you wanted to boycott these places, you had 1,000 other reasons to, outside of diversity, equity, and inclusion. But it's going to hit the people right in the pockets. So we're going to see, and I'm not sure what the chief imports are that Americans get from Canada, but we know with things like vegetables, when we talk about places like Mexico, what is that going to look like? We're already righteously complaining about the cost of groceries in the supermarket. I was in a grocery store yesterday, spent $70, and I can see the bottom of, I can see the floor. Looking through the cart, I could see the floor. As somebody who grew up in the 80s and 90s, this is a relatively new phenomenon for me as well. As somebody who likes to be mindful of their nutrition, whose protein intake is super high. Literally just 7 to 10 years ago, and don't judge me, I'm eating about 16 egg whites a day. So I'm buying a case of eggs for $5 from Walmart that has 64 eggs, cracking them, getting the yolk out, and making my egg whites. Now those are about $10 a pop. Now, could I still get it? Yes, because I'm a part of that faux working class. Because we know that it's no real working class, especially when you have things like student loan debt, housing debt. My paycheck may reflect working class, but that's not necessarily the case. But yes, I can afford it. I can still have those 16 egg whites a day. It's going to cost me a little bit more. But so many Americans are living paycheck to paycheck that this will hit them. Those individuals who had the bright idea to vote 45/47 in because they was scared of some Latin Americans, which I'll talk about later, they're going to get hit in the wallet. But the amazing thing about the Republican Party is that they find a way to shift the thinking and to shift the blame specifically away from them onto others. And so this is going to be Biden's fault. Somehow, they love bringing up Barry Obama, and I'm not his biggest fan, but they're going to bring up this Barry Obama fault. Barack Hussein Obama, this is going to be his fault. But ultimately, intentionally marginalized groups are going to pay the toll because we recognize these are the folk that are holding up the economy, and folk got to eat. Folk have to eat. But what I do wonder, because I go to places like Dollar General every day, and we start to see them having groceries there. It's not organic, which they say, hey, that's the best thing to eat. Get some more organic fruit or organic vegetables. We're going to see more and more people shopping at the dollar that once was dollar store. Now it's about $1.25. We're going to see folks shopping there for their groceries, where the quality is different. All right. Now, the argument that's offered by 45/47 and his cronies is that this is going to stop the fentanyl crisis. Dog, drugs been getting in America forever. It ain't going to stop. It ain't going to quit. Bad boy. I don't think I can do that anymore. It's been getting in America forever. This isn't going to stop it. Narcotics in America is American as apple pie. But again, the fear mongering, and that's all this is. This is to show that, hey, we are in control, and you either go and get down or lay down. Whether you're China, whether you're from China, whether you're Canadian, whether you're Mexican government, and oh yeah, the American people, y'all gonna get down or lay down too, because domination is the name of the game. Now, this isn't the first time that tariffs have been enacted here in America, right? I look at income, I look at taxes as a tariff. Like, fam, why am I giving you my bread? It's an acceptable tariff. But when we look back into the mid 1800s, and this is where I talk about how the importance of doing things like research, because I found this in Encyclopedia Britannica. Now, if you below a certain age, you don't remember the stacks and stacks of encyclopedias. Now everything is online, and it's just like, wow, I wish I did read those encyclopedias back in the day. Maybe know a little bit more about how nasty this society is. That there's nothing new under the sun when it comes to this. And so back in the mid 1800s, southern states like South Carolina, who they were like, fam, listen, we getting our goods from over here, from Britain. We don't rock with the North. We Gucci. And the American government was like, no, 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 no. No, tariff, 50%. And he like, yo. So now you're gonna try to force us, and that's part of the tariffs. We're gonna force you to buy from American folk. And so they wanted the South to buy American. And this is a part of the ideology of 45/47 and his cronies. Buy American. But what'll happen? Oh, you gotta buy from me now. I don't give a dang if we both American. Capitalism, baby. So I'm gonna jack this price up because where else you gonna go? Supply and demand. And so the Southerners weren't having it. And ultimately, some years later, it ended up being repealed. But recognize, again, there's nothing new under the sun when it comes to this. And even the idea of this helping American businesses, helping small businesses. Nah, because folks trying to do what? Like Byron Douglas said in A Different World. Got to get paid. Go watch The Different World. It's gonna be coming on that app, that Netflix app that keep going up in price. Why? Because they can. And this is the deal when we talk about capitalism. We do it because we can. All right. So I don't know what to tell you. You know what I mean? Go hit up some black farmers. I believe it's a text thread that's going around of black farmers where you can place orders online to get fruits and vegetables and things like that. But otherwise, I listen. I don't know what to tell you. I wish I had some hope to sell. You know what I mean? Maybe this is where Barry Obama and them need to come back, sell you some hope. All right, but I'm not sure. But what I am sure about is that immigration in this country is awesome bull jive. And the people that are upholding and enforcing and enacting upon 45/47's campaign promises. And that's one thing when it comes to 45/47, he's doing exactly what he told folk he was going to do. Now, I was one of them who said this project whatever it is, project for whatever it's called. I was one that said, well, listen, this is a byproduct of the Heritage Foundation. Now, I'm sure there's going to be some things that come from it because I'm sure Trump's going to have his folk in there. Lord, I said his name again. That's twice. Somebody keep scoring in the chat. Some things are going to come from it. But nah, I don't see it all coming true. Because this isn't the first time that the Heritage Foundation has made recommendations. They've been making recommendations since the late 70s, early 80s. And presidents have been implementing their recommendations. But boy, boy, was I wrong. Boy, was I wrong. And that's one thing about me. I can let you know I was wrong. Yeah, my man on, he like, ew, put that in front of my desk. I'm getting everything up out of here, right? We're repealing any and everything that we can. And so, one of the things that has been highly visible and the effects of have been highly visible are is what's happening with the immigration of what they call illegals, which is an insane perspective to look at human beings. But deporting immigrants who have been here in the United States in upwards of 30, 40, 50 years, getting them about the paint. We've seen planes going to these various countries. I'm thinking about Colombia. My neighbors are Colombian. My God, is that dry snitching? I'm not sure. But I believe them to be here legally. Matter of fact, I know they are here legally. Damn, you gotta be mindful of what you say on platforms too. The neighbors in my neighborhood, right? I live in a big neighborhood, so they won't find out who it is. But I think about Colombia specifically, where the Colombian president was just like, no, 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 no. No, they not coming here. You gotta keep them there, fam. We're not taking these people back. And 45/47 flexed his muscle and said, oh, you not taking your people back? Bam, you're sanctioned. Then there was a mea culpa. Listen, hey, Playboy, hey, my bad. Matter of fact, let's go get them. Matter of fact, we ain't even gonna have you get them. We gonna go get them ourselves and bring them back here. Again, this is a strength. As a social worker, I look at it from a strength perspective, right? Where, hey, he's flexing his muscle, and all of his people are flexing their muscle, and change, even though it's extremely problematic, it's happening. And so what we're seeing in places across the country, what we're seeing in places like Philadelphia, sanctuary cities, are we're seeing ICE come through, arrest people. Here in North Philadelphia, 7 people were arrested at a car wash. A family, father and sons, were arrested at a car wash. They just trying to do their job. We know the narrative when it comes to 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 immigrants here. And I'm not going to say immigrants here. Latin American immigrants, black immigrants, black and brown immigrants. Because notice, I'm not seeing the Irish. I'm not seeing folk whose visas expired from France and from all of these other places be arrested. So we recognize that this is a war against black and brown people. And again, fear. Fear is being used to push these agendas, to push this agenda. But these father and sons are just out here trying to make a living, doing what some folk consider a menial job, just wiping cars down so they can live, so they can eat, so they can house themselves, making a quote unquote honest living in an attempt to live what they say is the American dream. But yet they're arrested by ICE because they don't have the requisite paperwork to remain in this country. Philadelphia is a sanctuary city, which means that it limits cooperation with federal immigration enforcement. So supposedly, what's supposed to take place is the police aren't supposed to to cooperate, right, and helping them go to these locations and round people up. Schools and city officials, mum is the word. Now, we're not helping you do your job. We're not helping you harm people. And so that's why you have folk like District Attorney Larry Krasner and others condemn the raids. They promise to protect immigrant communities. But I spy with my little eye, and I got four of them. I just remember what just took place with this arena in Chinatown. Maybe that's a different type of protection. I'm not sure. Maybe this is a part different, but that's another conversation. Maybe because protection, everybody's definition is different. You dig me? But we recognize that this is part of a broader ICE crackdown. Within the last 10 or so days, there have been 7,200 arrests in 9 days. Again, in 9 to 10 days, targeting sanctuary cities. What makes you question what is the relationship between immigrant communities and law enforcement? Is there a trust? From my perspective, there never was a trust. There can't be a trust because the majority of them folk voted for 45-47. They're the ones who, if it was socially acceptable, will be walking around with their white hoods on, with their swastikas, with their tiki torches. We know that it was a lot of law enforcement down in D.C. January 6th when they was there's the protecting America from itself, right? Righteous protest. Man, miss me with the bull jive, right? Committing acts of terror. Folk who are going down there to harm law enforcement, which this administration, with folk who believe in the ideology of the Republican Party, say that they support. It's irony, contradictory, some cognitive dissonance that exists there. But no, there isn't any trust that exists. And whatever may have existed, just where it's just like, well, I know I'm not going to get hit up just because I'm at Home Depot. And if you live in an area where there's a Home Depot, drive past there about 6, 7 a.m. I know the one near me where it used to be literally maybe 100 people out there looking for honest day's work, selling goods, right? Food, clothing, and so forth. They're not there anymore. They knew the local police weren't going to get them. But now, because they have this command from the federal government to round up folk, and there's a minimum that they have to round up per day. I want to say it's 900. Don't necessarily quote me on that. They're nowhere to be found. Folk are in hiding because they have to leave this space where they're hustling to survive and been doing a damn good job at it, to go back home to where it's even tougher to hustle, where opportunities are slim. When I consider what it means for Philly to be a sanctuary city, and if there's enough protection for immigrants, I would have to say no. Right? I would have to say no. Because what more can you say besides don't do this? Right? What can you say besides, hey, don't do this? I look at school districts across the country who have said, listen, we've talked to our staff, and this is what protection looks like. We've talked to our staff and said, this is how you handle it if ICE comes to our school. We're not here for it. And then I saw that I ain't got no the better terminology to describe it. I saw the wax statement from Tony Watlington, the superintendent of Philly school districts. Oh yeah, you know what I mean? We're just going to advise them. I don't know if that's what leadership looks like. It needs to be very clear, very definitive especially when you're talking in the media, because this is the thing that builds trust. So if I'm an immigrant and I send my kid to school, what I heard that man say on the news, I know is no way in hell under his watch they're going to let these folk in. But again, this is what leadership looks like. When I consider other protections that maybe could be enacted to help immigrants and what could potentially compromise it. What could compromise it is funding from the federal government. Hey, all right, this is how you this to get there and again power. This is what you want to do? You don't want to help us out? This ain't even a quid pro quo. I look out for you, you look out for me. That's not even what this is. I'm telling you what to do, and if you don't do it, your money will be impacted. And it's already going to be impacted because I don't like you get down anyway. And so because I'm not necessarily in that arena, I can't tell you specifics of what could take place. But what I can tell you are some reasons why that's not going to happen. It may inhibit these types of things. When I consider whether actions like rounding up immigrants, like they're cattle, like they're herd, actually makes communities safer, we know the answer is no. Statistically speaking, and I keep trying to tell folk this, America is as safe as it's ever been in history, right? Crime is at its lowest point historically. Now we recognize from year to year there may be some changes, right? Like in local places, but as a collective, America is safe as it's ever been. But no, these actions don't make it safer. Why? Because these are people aren't committing crimes, right? And if folk are committing crimes to the way that they try to make you believe, now think about that law that was enacted for the immigrant who killed that white woman. Emphasis on white woman. It's just like, oh my gosh, immigrants are just out here all willy nilly killing people. They named one. What is it, Riley Lincoln or something like that? Lincoln, something. Please feel free to correct me in the chat of the name. And it's not to minimize her death at all, but what it is to say that this isn't the norm. But what this also does is this pushes this idea of fear. That because I see now it's brown folk. Historically, it's always been black folk. Black folk, and this is what the issue where we talk about defunding the media, because the media is propaganda and it pushes these ideas that black folk are unsafe, that immigrants are unsafe people, that they don't want the same things. Maybe I need to pull up that James Baldwin clip where he says, yo, you want to raise your kids in your community and be at peace? I want the same thing. And so we either going to live here together or we going to die here together. Because I'm not going to just allow you to make my life hell because of how you view the color of my skin. And so, no, it doesn't make communities safer because folk aren't committing crimes in that way. And when you do commit crimes, it's usually against the people that look like you. Whether we're talking about race-wise, gender speaking, except for when we talk about domestic violence. We know that men are more likely to be domestically violent towards a woman. Or when we look at things like class, socioeconomic status. If I live around poor folk, I'm going to be more violent towards poor folk who just happen to be black and brown and white and Asian. We just happen to look like each other because of segregation, because of redlining, and so forth. And so all these crackdowns do or reinforce these broader systems of racial profiling and oppression. That's it. And what's at the root of that? At the root of that, of racial profiling and oppression, are fear and control. Fear and control. That's all. And so that's why, as I shift gears to Dr. Phil's Black Thought of the Day, in this idea that white validation is harming Black culture and collective progress, I think about Kendrick Lamar. And so, for those who have been following me for the last few years, I want to say the Super Bowl, it was Super Bowl, ooh, was it 2020? Whatever Super Bowl Kendrick Lamar performed, We Gonna Be All Right. Off the album To Pimp a Butterfly, which it's so much irony there. He went on that Super Bowl stage with the West Coast artists and he self-muted himself. He self-muted himself for the line that says, and we hate po-po, which for me it was mind-blowing. I was taken aback. Because why? This is such a vital piece of the song. This is a vital piece of the song. This is the purpose. When we're out here protesting George Floyd's murder, Breonna Taylor's murder, when we consider Trayvon Martin, when we consider Sean Bell, when we consider Latasha Harlins, we think about we gonna be all right. We think about justice. And what does justice mean for us? And this is why we hate Popo. When we talk about that trust between communities and the police. And you self-mute yourself, my brother? Oh, no, 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 player. That's not it. That's not it. And so I've critiqued Kendrick much in the same vein as I've critiqued Sean Carter, capitalistic Hove, in that I see what y'all want to do for Black folk, but it ain't aligning. Because when you give me a we gonna be all right, you go on stage and you self-mute. When you give us some of your most intimate thoughts on Mr. Morale, you go over there in France or wherever and you got your legs crossed rapping the lyrics at a fashion show for white folk in a space that's always been exclusionary to Black folk. And now when we fast forward and you receive all this praise for they not like us, for calling Aubrey Graham to the carpet, for quote unquote exposing him, his anti-Blackness. Even though I still got problems with you talking about pedophilia in the song, and that's the first time you bring this that this knowledge that you have up is in the diss record, which is anti-Black to me. The community still says, "Yo, Kendrick, we see you. Call out these folk. Call out these folk who ain't of culture, however it is that you define in culture." But I remember you said F culture in the Heart Part 5. We see on stage this moment of Crips and Bloods and Black folk, just Black folk convening, loving on one another because of your art. Then I see that you win a Grammy for that same song. and you're appreciative and you're humbled. You get this Super Bowl appearance. White folk that before Kaepernick, before blackballing Kaepernick, that said, yeah, you know what, these concussions, these head injuries, I don't know. I think black folk might have, have some predisposition. Yeah, we're not going to put a whole lot of funding into this. How exclusionary they've been. Now you're going to be on this stage performing. It just ain't making sense. Is it Uchiwali or is it One Mike? Is it Black Girl Lost? Or is it Shorty You Owe Me for Ice? Now I know you can't help being nominated for a Grammy, even though we know that you got to submit to be nominated for a Grammy. So somehow this white validation means something to you. It reminds me of Tabitha Brown, who's saying, I understand why you might not want to support Target, but you got black folk in Target. So if you can, just support the black folk while still supporting this entire structure, this entire system that folk are out here day in and day out attempting to topple because they believe in shared humanity. And so for years I've been thinking about the best analogy to highlight this issue that I'm having with not only Kendrick, but with just black artists, black folk in general. Your Beyoncés, your Sean Carters. Hell, me. I ain't above none of this. And so any critique that I offer to black celebrities, I also ask myself the same question. Because we all make concessions. But then will we ever get free? But then I was just sitting and I was thinking, and it came to me like a song I didn't write. I'm going to play this clip now from the late, great Clarence Williams III, who played Kalinga in I'm Gonna Get You Sucker.
You know that government office building on 25th Street?
Yeah?
We went down to take it over. But they were hiring that day. The brothers walked in with guns. Came out with jobs. The brothers weren't mad anymore.
And so that's what it is. We gonna be all right. And when we rapping in France with our legs crossed, sharing our pain, when we accept the Grammy for Not Like Us, which was supposed to shift how we view black art, how we view black culture. And you get this Grammy. What's being said is, yeah, we got jobs though. We got jobs. We not mad no more. And so I encourage you, not Kendrick, but those who are out there, think about how your thoughts, feelings, and actions are aligned with the struggle. Is there a cognitive dissonance that exists? Because why? How else are we going to free ourselves? And so I'm asking myself that question too. Listen, I appreciate you all tuning in to Rhetorically Speaking, streaming wherever you listen to podcasts. Make sure you go onto the social medias at Black Media Nexus. Like, comment, most definitely subscribe so you can know when all the amazing content is dropping. Also, head to the Patreon, patreon.com/Black Media Nexus. If you just appreciate what I'm out here trying to do and what I'm gathering a team of black creatives, what we're trying to do for community, feel free to donate a couple dollars. We will be back Wednesday with a new hashtag You Good Man Men's Wellness episode. We have the creators of the Fellowship of the Griots, Ala T. Farmer and Donnie Moreland joining us to have conversation to discuss the intersection between writing and our mental health. With that said,